In this video, we'll be going over how the final project works, which is going to be inputting grades and outputting the final grade for a student using the CPE 310 syllabus. So to start off, we're going to look at the variables created, and we're going to have three that are prompts for the user, entering this number of students we're grading, the quiz grades and the test grades. We're going to use two variables for storage, which is basically the same thing as using a register to store a value and then calling it back later, except this time we're going to use memory. And we also have a few output, which is going to be outputting to the output console what grade the student receives based on the input grades. So to start off with the program, the first thing we do is we're going to print out num student, which is this prompt saying enter the number of students to grade. The next thing we're going to do after that is we're going to store that value into register S7, and we are going to then begin a loop for, first we're going to create the counter, and then we're going to loop through it, and at the end of the loop is where we check the counter, and if the counter does not meet the number of students we said we're going to grade based on the prompt of num student, then we're going to loop again and again until we meet that number. So what we're going to do here is we're going to first increment the counter, saying that we went through the loop once. We're going to ask for the quiz grades, which is going to give the prompt quiz grade, enter the 6 best quiz grades. And after that, we're going to take in all the quizzes, and we're going to loop through it 6 times. This is going to be the counter for that. At the end of this loop, we're going to branch back to it if it's less than 6. So we do it 6 times for each of the 6 quiz grades. After that, we're going to average the quizzes, and we're going to weight them. To do this, we're going to add them all up, which we've been keeping a running sum of them right here. And after we have the running sum, we're going to average them, and then we're going to take the weight of it. And by doing that, we're going to multiply by 0.6. And rather than multiply by a double value, we're going to just use integers. And to do that, we're going to multiply by 6 and then divide by 10, as 6 divided by 10 is 0.6. And upon doing that, we're going to store the quiz weighting into a variable. And then we will reset this register so we can do it for the tests. For the tests, it's going to be the same way. We're going to loop after prompting for the test grades. We're going to loop, we're going to go through it once, and then once it gets to the second time, we finish the second time, we're going to be done with the loop, and we're going to continue on. We're going to average the weight of the tests, same way we did with the quizzes, except this is 40%, so we're going to multiply by 4 and then divide by 10. We're going to store this in a test weight, and then after doing that, we are going to find the total grade by adding the quiz weight and the test weight together. To do this, we have to load the byte that is in the address of the label and put that in a register. And then after that, we're going to add them all together, and then we will print what grade they get. To do this, for every single grade, we're going to print the label student grade, which is just formatting, saying student number, and then we're going to print the integer for what counter we're on. So if we're on the first student, it'll say student number 1, or it'll say student number 2, depending on which counter we're on. And then we will branch depending on what value we get from adding the total grade. If that comes to a 90, we'll branch to A, 80 B, 70 C, 60 D, and if it's not above a 60, then it's an F. And in each of these labels, what we do is we simply print a certain string according to what grade they deserve, which is a grade A, and this is, again, additional formatting, so we have a colon after the student number, and then it'll say the grade. To see this in action, we will compile it, and it asks us the number of students to grade. We will say we'll grade 2 students. 6 best quiz grades, we'll say they got 100, 100, 80, 80, and another 100, and 80. And then 2 best test grades, we'll say they got 100 and a 90, and we see the student deserves an A. For the next student, we will say they got a 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, and for the quiz test, we'll say they got 100 and a 70, and the student deserves a B. And that's how the program works.